Shocked by your wireless bill every month? All those ridiculous fees and tacked-on taxes? You end up paying hundreds more a year than the price you expected. Switch to T-Mobile One because taxes and fees are now included. Right now, for just $100 a month with AutoPay, get 2 lines of unlimited data. That's 2 lines for $100, all in, all unlimited. Don't wait. Hurry to a T-Mobile store to switch and start saving hundreds today.
Top 3% of data users greater than 30 gigabytes per month may notice reduced speeds. Sales tax included.
Blog Talk Radio.
The year, 1888. The place, London's East End. Dead and mutilated bodies are popping up all over, from Stamford to Whitechapel. Jack the Ripper is leaving his mark, and the city's on edge. Yvonne Mason is back with a tale of murder and millinery. The Rhodes Hat Factory is booming while the body count rises. Why now? How are these hats connected? Has the Hatter gone mad? Mad Hatter from Yvonne Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Off the Chain. I'm your host, Yvonne Mason, and yes, it's Wednesday night, and it is the beginning of our new week. I'm going to tell you what, things just keep getting better and better and just keep on happening for this show and my guest, and just gets me all excited and weak-kneed because of my guest and because of people like Chris Dunham, who's my admin. Yes, that was a piece of shameless promotion, The Mad Hatter. If you haven't read it, go get it, because I promise you, you will not be sorry. Y'all know I'm a numbers girl. That's just the way I am. I can't help it, and I gauge the success of this show by the numbers. I mean, that's just the way it is. Think of the Nielsen ratings, if you will. This morning, I was running my numbers like I always do, and just on this show, ladies and gentlemen. Remember when I started, I said I wanted to have 10,000 and then 15,000. Well, just on this show alone, as of this morning, we're at 6,167 listeners. I'll say that again because I know you're trying to pick your jaw up off the floor and you're going, what? Yes, we are at 6,167 listeners just on Blog Talk Radio. That does not include the 5 podcasts that I put this show up on after it goes into archives. When you include all those podcasts, we're at 13,907 listeners. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to 15,000 in the next, couple of weeks. I have no doubt about it. We are heard in over 51 countries. Some of them I can't even pronounce because the name is as long as my arm. And the reason we are successful is because of my guest. I have some of the most amazing guests in the world. They'll talk about anything with me. They don't care. And that's the way that I want to brand them, because it's not about their product. It's about them. They are their brand, not what they sell. They are the brand. And so in order for you, the listener, to get to know my guest and understand, we're just people too, and we have lives, we have flaws, we have fears, we have platforms. We're just like y'all. We just write or make music for a living. So I won't get into the meat of the matter until into the show because, as Johnny Carson used to say, I want to tease you a little while, let you get to know the guest and find out a little about them. Because my guests have interesting stories. They have interesting histories. Not all of them started out wanting to do what they wound up doing. Some of them did, and some of them had to take a different path for a while. But they all now are living their dream. And the same goes for my guest tonight. It's author David Ulnar Slew. That's his pen name. His real name is Ed Sullivan, but this is what he says. He's the plank owner and the Illiterati, I hope I can pronounce it right, I've been up all night, so I'm not speaking well, Writers Collective. He is flash fiction editor Emeritus of Aphelion, the Webzine of science fiction and fantasy. He's editor-at-large of Aphelion, the Webzine of science fiction and fantasy. And David Ulnar Slew is the pen name of author Ed Sullivan. The pen name is necessary, he says, so he doesn't get lost in a sea of search results, which are not him, when people are looking for his work. I'm going to tell you, this man is absolutely amazing. So without any further ado, welcome, my friend. I am so glad that you are here.
I am absolutely, genuinely delighted to be here. And I just want to start by saying I am in awe of how many people this show reaches. As a fellow podcaster as well, I do one myself, I am in absolute awe by the numbers that you reach and the number of people that tune in to see or listen to this show.
Well, thank you. It's because of y'all. People tune in because they know that I have interesting guests on this show, and interesting guests who like to talk to me and who like to brand themselves and market themselves. And so it's all because of y'all. And I appreciate all of y'all 110%.
Well, I appreciate that also, that wonderful introduction, and I'm glad to be here to talk to you tonight. I'm glad to share whatever meager talents and stories I have with your listeners. Hopefully they can take the good in what I have to say and apply it in some way that can help them personally.
And this is part of what this show is about, because I know you've heard several of my shows, and I always say this is a show for dreamers because we're all dreamers, and I believe in dreams. Good Lord, I had dreams drop in my lap I wasn't even expecting. So, yeah, I believe that we can make our dreams come true. We just have to want them bad enough. So with that being said, let's tell the audience about David Ulnar Slew, a.k.a. Ed Sullivan. How did you get to this point? As a child, were you interested in writing? Did you love fantasy as a child? How did you get here?
Well, my whole life, I've been a reader, and science fiction, fantasy, comic books, all the speculative, geeky genres and enclaves. I could probably claim membership to. Never truly tried my best to get out there as a creator until a couple of years ago. I'm 42 now, so basically back when I was just 39, turning 40, I was going through some transitions. I was recently divorced. I was a single dad with custody of my daughter. I had just met my current wife, and there was a little bit of renewed vigor in my life, and there were some good transitions going on. And somehow, through a combination of encouragement and kismet, I was encouraged to write and submit. And at first I was writing and submitting and getting rejected, and I actually had made a game out of it because of the old Stephen King quote about him having a nail on the wall where he put his rejections until the nail gave way, and then he started a new nail. So I was collecting rejections, and I was kind of laughing about it, and I was taking a sadomasochistic pleasure in getting rejections because it felt better than not doing it. Once I got started, it felt better to get rejected than to not do it. And then, lo and behold, I got an acceptance. It wasn't a paid acceptance. I got an acceptance from a free science fiction fantasy webzine, and that was Aphelion. So this was in the spring of, the spring of, last was 16, 15. So this was the spring of 2015. My goodness,
Wow.
that doesn't seem that long ago. And then I got accepted, and then I got accepted with them the next month and the next month. And I just kept throwing stuff at these guys and getting accepted for flash fiction, which was initially what I made my mark in. And I had been so ingrained with them for month after month that when their flash fiction editor had to leave, I took it upon myself to run a flash fiction contest in his absence, and behind the scenes, one of the editors asked another, said, "Well, what do you call this one?" Somebody just decides to run contests, and they're not even on the editorial board. And the other editor said, "Well, I'd call it an audition." So, pardon, I became the flash fiction editor at Aphelion, and did that for over a year. And I got a novel out because by the summer of that year, I was an editor. I was a writer, and then all of a sudden I'm an editor. Then since my encouragement and my new joie de vivre came in, was my first NaNoWriMo came up in November, and I wanted to give it a go. I wanted to give it an honest and earnest try. And I said, well, I'm just going to pick something, and I'm going to let it fly. And at the time, I'm much more so a plotter now that I'm a grown-up author. I still pants, but much more plot involved. But for this NaNoWriMo, I just said, I'm going to pick something, and I'm going to go with it. So I sat there and I thought, and I said, I'm going to write a Magnificent Seven with women. It's going to be a fantasy, sword and sorcery. And I don't know, I can't remember how I came up with that. So I said, well, I can't have 7 because the Magnificent Seven, the Seven Samurai. I said, I'm going to make it 6, make it easy on myself, and cut one person out. So I said, I'm going to write about 6 women who save a village, and they're all different. And that's basically, I copied the first 2 scenes, not verbatim, but I used a standard opening that they've used in all things that have paid homage to the Magnificent Seven and the Seven Samurai, where somebody overhears, hey, the village is going to be attacked. And I started out with that, and then it took on a life of its own, and I ended up with a novel, which I serialized in 7 parts, and then combined and took the 7 parts off and had a novel, which was the 6th, which is out now. And then somewhere in the midst of that, I retired from Aphelion and opened my own Pulp magazine. It's quarterly and it's paid. You don't pay to read it, but I pay to have people write for it out of my own pocket. Basically, I fund a Pulp fiction magazine with my meager earnings as an author, just because I think it's healthy to give some kind of a stipend to authors. It encourages them, and I don't pay great. I pay, token wages, but people absolutely love just getting a check for a couple of bucks for their work when they're in their early transitions as an author, and it encourages them and it makes them so happy and overwhelmed. And I've got such a good stable of authors that come in for Cheapjack Pulp. I'm overwhelmed. I mean, when you say your guests make your show, my authors make my Pulp magazine a success. It's easy being the editor.
And the thing is, David, that what you're doing for these newbies, as I like to call them, is you're giving them that, instead of giving them that rejection letter, you're giving them that foundation to build a beautiful piece of architecture.
Oh, yeah, well, the newbies, but then sometime after I established it for about a year and a half, I became like a hip underground place to be published, because I started getting people who were accomplished as well, and it's kind of a hipster thing. Like, hey, I was writing for them when it was underground and it was cool to write for them. I had a fella come out of the blue and write a detective action story for me, and I was looking at his credentials, and this fella had won an Emmy for screenwriting with Steven Spielberg.
Wow.
His name was Les Bohem. He wrote music for Alvin and Chipmunks albums. He wrote music for Revenge of the Nerds with an 80s band he was in, and he wrote the screenplay for a sci-fi original miniseries that he produced with Steven Spielberg, and they won an Emmy. And I wrote to this guy and I said, you know who I am, and I've got this little thing that nobody, I'm not important. And he said, no. He said, I like what you're doing. It's cool, and I want to be a part of it. And I was like, whoa, okay. And yeah. So I mean, he's the best example I have. But I've got some people that I've got people that I consider beyond me in terms of accomplishment, writing for me, and I get to pass judgment on them. I feel a little self-conscious sometimes passing judgment on people, But
you're not really passing judgment. What you're doing is helping them to succeed in something that maybe they haven't tried before, even though they're accomplished in other things like writing scripts and movie scripts and screenplays and music productions. That's a different world than writing a flash fiction or a short story or a novella or even a novel. It's a different mindset because in a screenplay, it's a page a minute. Mm-hmm. In a flash fiction, you got to set the scene, set the action, set the plot line, and finish it up in 500 words or less.
Yeah, Flash. We could talk almost all night about Flash. Flash is an art in and of itself. Flash is to short fiction almost like what a haiku or one of the very lofty poetries is to standard poetry. It's almost a little art in and of itself.
True, because you've got to tell that story in such a short span of time. You've got to grab that reader at the first sentence. You've got to be able to hold the reader through the 3-4 paragraphs, and when the reader gets done, they've got to be satisfied that was indeed a good story and it kept their attention and grabbed them, and now they want more. And not everybody can do that.
Yep. That's true. Yeah. I have a small plug that I want to get out of the way, if you don't mind.
Oh, go right ahead.
As the editor, as one of the editors emeritus of Aphelion, I do know that currently, right now, if you've got a little bit of experience under your belt, or any at all, Aphelion is looking for some help. They need a short story editor, and I'd be lax in my duty as still being attached to them if I didn't let as many people know with this opportunity that Dan over at Aphelion is looking for somebody to help out and edit short stories. And I can honestly say that it is an absolute phenomenal way to get your chops, cut your chops as an editor, and learn a ton about writing because, gosh, reading and editing, you can learn some very solid lessons that way. So
I catch myself. It's really, really funny. I catch myself as I'm reading books and some of the books by some of the quote-unquote most well-known authors out of the traditional publishing houses. I catch myself editing their book in my mind as I'm reading. I'm going, wait a minute, that doesn't even make good sense. Who edited this book for him?
Yeah. Well, I read some books full on intentionally. I pick up books and I intend no joy from it. I pick up books to look at how some people just. The other day, I was holding a Lee Childs book, a Jack Reacher novel, and while it is entertaining, I picked it up with the full intention of having no interest in the story I was doing it because I wanted to see and take conscious note of Lee Child's writing style so that I could see if there was anything that I could pick out of it going through this Reacher novel as a nugget of wisdom to apply to myself. And I've done that with many authors. I've done that with romance authors. You look and you say, well, you can't be that successful without having something going for you stylistically. So I had picked it up, and I was reading through it, and I was not interested in the story at all. I was watching how he formed his sentences, how he cut his paragraphs, because, that's a very good example of how to write a book that keeps people's attention. Dan Brown, Lee Childs, you want to keep people's attention, and you want to see a successful model. Not that that's the only successful model. You look at some of those guys, and they will show you how to write a page turner.
And that is very true, and I've preached this since day one. If someone wants to write in a particular genre, let's say in the Lee Child genre, which is suspense and thrillers and cliffhangers and fingernail holding onto the wall type thing, read everything you can in that genre by that author and authors like him, because it's like you said, you do pick up those nuggets of wisdom in the way they write, and the style, and the plot setting, the character building, and even the setting of the story itself. Because my mother reads, she loves Jack Reacher. To my mother, Jack Reacher is a living, breathing human being. She's read Lee Childs for years. And every time, and my husband reads Lee Childs, so every time we get Lee Childs, my husband reads them, then I send them to Atlanta to my mother. Because she says he holds her attention, and she loves it.
Oh, well, like him or hate him, those books are absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
As an example of a style that is ultra successful.
That is very true.
Even if that's not your thing as an author, if you want to work on your craft, you have to be willing to look at other people's successes, and even if you don't like that genre, if Lee Childs kicked your dog, you should still be willing to look at his books to find out how to be a better author, because the man has something. So does Dan Brown. So does Patterson. So does King. You need to be able to look. You need to, even I would never write a romance right now. Maybe if somebody could talk me into it as a collaborator or something. But, I've looked at Danielle Steele. You have to look and say, well, how do they break up their paragraphs? What is the rhythm that they write their sentences in? How short, how long are their chapters? These are things you have to take note of so that you can amalgamate them and work them into your particular style.
Very, very wise words. Now I'm gonna take a detour for just a minute, because your pen name is very interesting, and I know you did it because Edward Sullivan is kind of like a common name. How many Edward Sullivans are out there? I didn't know there were 1,000 Yvonne Masons either, but there are, believe it or not. There's also 1,000 Yvonne Sewells. I couldn't believe that either. So where did you get that pen name? What prompted you to use David Ulnar Slew?
I put Edward Sullivan into an anagram generator and narrowed it down to some of the best ones. And I threw out everything that didn't have a reasonably sensible first name. So I got down to anything that had a decent first name. And then I looked and I said, well, geez, I said, that sounds kind of mysterious and foreign. I thought it sounded, if anything, a bit Dutch or South African. And I said, well, there can't be any of those out there, because, and if there is, it's just, I don't even think it's a real last name. So I said, there must not be any. And I looked and I couldn't find anything. And I said, well, I'm going to go with that. And for a while I played it off as two different people just for fun, because I wasn't really good at I had no reason to keep it secret. But I used to go around the Aphelion circles playing it off as two different people, and making it have its own little personality where David was a little crazier and a little darker than Ed. And it stuck by the time it stuck long enough. It stuck long enough that it went on the novel. And I said, well, now I have a pen name. I'm going to just stick with it. I'll run with it. And I've got my own name if I want it. And I've actually got other pen names. There's been some minor work under, but I kind of just picked one that made some sense and ran with it.
I really do like it because it's unique and it sticks with you, and to be able to play it off like that is an excellent idea, because what it does is it generates interest. It's like your own little second personality.
Well, there's also a little Easter egg in there, because the Ulnar is the funny bone, and the word slew means to kind of hit at an angle. So really the last name is synonymous with getting hit in the funny bone.
That's good.
So what that amused me too, but it's a little out there as jokes though. I've had some people catch it. I've had one person organically catch that it was an anagram of Ed Sullivan. In all the time, I've had one person that probably was so bored that they took the letters and re-scrambled them to make my name. So
that is, I like that idea. Now, before the show, because I can't wait any longer.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, any of y'all that saw my post this morning about this show and the book that I stayed up all night reading, well, we're going to talk about it tonight. He touched on it a little bit a while ago about when he went and wrote for Nano, and this man's got more courage than I do, because I started it one year and said, forget this.
Mm-hmm.
But the book that he's talking about is called The Six, and I downloaded it on my Kindle, and I could not put the book down, literally. It grabbed me from the very first sentence. What David did is he created a story that when I finished the book, and I'm looking for the second in the series, and there's not one, I told David before the show, I looked and I couldn't find one. I said, wait till I get David on the show. I'm going to reach through the phone and kill him, because there are so many good ideas for series on this thing. But basically it is about 6 women. And let me just read it to you, ladies and gentlemen. It trust me. And no, you can't go look at it right now. You got to wait till after the show. This is what the story is about. Real women's work is never done. If you want it done right, send these gals. Unstoppable horde, reluctant heroes, a dark army. Never send a man to do a woman's work. Now, when I saw that, I said, amen, brother. Naomi had found peace in a quiet little village. No one bothered her, and she bothered no one. A series of unfortunate events bring her past back to haunt her in a big way. It means an even bigger problem for the people of the village. A group of barmaids with a secret are discovered to be more than they seem to be by a twist of fate. They have no choice but to act decisively and help the cause. Will their skills and prowess make the difference when the impending disaster hits? 2 monumental forces both converge on this little village, both intent on the demise of the population of the town. Who will be spared, who will die? The Six is a serial fantasy novel that features fast-paced action, a bit of horror, a few laughs, and some strange romance. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, no truer words have ever been put to paper before. That is so true. This book is absolutely amazing. and I don't read fantasy that much. I live in a real world, and to me, fantasy doesn't make sense. But when I started reading this book, perfect sense. The storyline made perfect sense because you have this little bitty defenseless village. You have this group called the Horde who's going throughout the countryside raping and pillaging in that order because the guy wants to take over the entire country and be the ruler. And then you have this other army of dark ones that wants the same things for different reasons. And you have the village in the middle. And then you have the villagers and these 6 women with their merry little band of misfits. Would that be a fair statement, David?
I think that's about right.
And they are the heroes. David, I'm going to tell you what, that is one of the best books I have read in years.
Thank you. I'm gushing
honey, don't blush because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this man not only. Men can't usually write about women. That's why when men have women in their books, they fall flat because men don't understand women. Get over it, guys. It's just the way it is. Women are three-dimensional in a way that most men don't understand. And sometimes even women don't understand women. But what David did is he took these 6 women who are unique, David? Would that be a good word?
I would call them pretty unique, yeah.
and he not only creates their characters, but he nails them as women, irregardless of their uniqueness. He nails them as women, and I don't mean in a bad way. I mean in the nuance of our stubbornness, our sense of duty, our determination, our strengths, our insecurities, our weaknesses. Each of these women, he gave them that depth, and for you to be able to do that, David, is just phenomenal.
For the most part, I wrote men and then made them more practical.
And you even made 1 or 2 of them a little whiny.
Yeah.
Men.
Well, in the situations that they're in, the men would be whiny, and really, what it was based upon was that in the particular society that you don't get to see as much, but that they're coming from, there's women who decide that they don't want to be beholden to men, that they want to be warriors, and they choose to be warriors, and it's not that chainmail bikini crapola. They decide that they're heterosexual women, as obviously you find out in the book, but they're not beholden to marriages and with relationships with men. They want to be warriors first, and you see that in the book. And really, I don't spend a lot of time on their dress, but the way they carry themselves and the way they dress and the way they fight is the way that they would fight, as real as you can be in fantasy, even down to a couple of them being berserkers, and sometimes they're fighting naked because they don't take time to do anything but grab a weapon and fight. And it's not at all a sexual or a psychosexual thing. It's that the ones in the book that are berserker types take hallucinogenics and rub them on and then jump into battle and tear things up. And there's nothing titillating about it. They're actually very ultra-violent characters who behave as if they were, they're based off of Viking berserkers who who often fought nude or almost nude, and that's that's the way they were doing it because that's what they were. They were berserkers. So you wouldn't. It's kind of funny because I stayed away from any chainmail bikini baloney, where some of them were armored and heavily weaponed, and some obviously some of them were just nude, and they fought like mad women, and hell
has no fury like a mad woman.
Well, exactly, and and some of the actually, all of the women characters are intelligent, just in different ways, but some of them are highly skilled in what they do as a function in their society and in their group. So they're leaders, and they're one is for all intents and purposes a chemist, for God's sakes. So
just and there was one scene in the book, and I don't want to give the scene away, but it's when the gathering is happening. The villagers see the king's army coming, the horde's coming, and the others are coming, and the king says, "I want to see your in charge person," for lack of a bit, because verbatim I don't remember. And out walks Naomi, and he goes, "Who the hell are you?" And he says, "Oh, well, you're totally surrounded because you've got my man at your back and you've got me at your front." She says, "Well, your man's on my side. Get over it."
Yep.
And the king's going, "What?" It just, I could see that scene. She would not back down. You had these 6 women, as you say, in various stages of dress, in various stages of being armed, fearless. And basically they're saying, you can either fight with us or you can fight against us, but either way, you're going to die. You have a better chance if you're on our side because we got your back.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. They were fearless.
Yeah, they were fearless. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you have to go get this book. It's called The Six by David Ulnar Slew. And right now, you can download it for free on Kindle. Why? I don't know. You need to start charging for it, David, because this book is absolutely amazing. I mean, amazing.
I keep it on Kindle Unlimited, and I'm more than happy to have people get it that way. And then every once in a while, I stick it on a promotion because I say for now I'm keeping it exclusive to Amazon, but at some point it'll go out again because it's been out before on Nook and Kobo and on Apple. So more than likely this one will go out wide again when a sequel is done. And in all honesty, after being on this show, I may have to reprioritize getting the sequel out.
You got to put it back out there. I'm telling you, especially ladies, if I cannot explain enough how good this book was. I mean, this book stayed with me when I finally got to go to sleep at 5:30 this morning. I dreamed about this damn book. And I don't normally dream about books, but it's the way that David wrote this book from the very first sentence that you, the reader, are inside the book as an observer. And when they go, David, when they go into the crypt, I'm saying, don't go down there. Don't go down there. Don't. And they go down there. It's that kind of book.
Well, and writing it, some of the things happened organically. Some of the things it's just like there was a problem. The book started with a problem, but then some other problems came about because people were just my characters were doing what people do. They were trying to fix a problem. They were looking around. They were scrambling for an answer. And then some other things happened because that's the way life really works. You're in the middle of something, and sometimes other things happen. And other things happened in the book.
And you're saying, don't do that. Just don't. And they do. And you're going, now look what you've done. Now how are you going to get out of this? And you turn the page, and not only do they get out of it, but they acquire other, for lack of a better word, other arrows in their quiver and other bits of wisdom and other pieces of some of them's past that helps them on their quest to save the village.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it creates there's quite a storyline that I need to explore.
And then you have the coming of wisdom, the coming of understanding of who one really is, and the acceptance, and the finding out that piece of that person they had been missing and didn't know they knew they were missing something, but they didn't know what. And then when they found that part of themselves, you see that growth and that completion and that extra strength that they gained from it.
I think at certain points I was riding a fine line when it comes to certain hero's journey tropes. And I tried not to go too off on a tangent, but there's a lot of hero's journey standard paradigms in this book, and I tried not to cross too many over. But this is a very busy book with an ensemble cast, and I, at the end, my biggest hope was that I just didn't overdo it. So, yeah.
No, you didn't overdo it. You just made me, at the end of the book, go, where's the next book?
Yeah, I suppose we should be doing that.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I won't lie. I've got about 6,000 words for that, and then I've got 3 other projects that are in the 15, 20, 25, 30,000 word range, and I kind of bounce around, and then I take breaks and I do short fiction for a while, and then I always take a break every 3 months so that I can do my due diligence editing the magazine. But I'm hoping that I'm hoping soon that I have a bow on several things, and one of them is the sequel to that.
Well, you know that we have to launch the book on this show because I've just ranted and raved about the 6. We have to launch the sequel on this show.
Absolutely. It'd be my delight.
It's such an amazing story because the story can be set in any town, in any village, on any given day, and present day as well.
It's true. It's true.
You have
I do know I think I mentioned this off the air. There's a lot of possibilities. The sequel that was intended is Eve and Poke and Ugly go off to look for the twins' father. So that takes them to another continent, and that was the intended sequel. But there's a sequel that goes. There's a sequel possibility that goes north. There's a sequel possibility that stays in the village, or there's a sequel possibility that goes east. Because I had so many characters, there's at least 3 concurrent sequels that could take the place of the second book, all in the same time frame, and then I have an outline for the third book, but the third book would have to happen after all of these quote unquote second books because of the time frame. So
So get busy.
Yeah, I know.
Because I got to know what happened to the peoples, the characters. They're a part of me now, and I got to know what happened to them because they're all going in a dozen different directions, and we don't want them falling off the face of the earth.
I am curious. Who was your favorite character?
My favorite character, surprisingly enough, was Segan.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is because he was a man of mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know until towards the end if he could be really trusted or not. And that's what I liked about it. Because he was really too smart for the character that he was playing in the book. His character was really too smart.
There was definitely a reason. There was a reason.
Yeah. And you're going, wait a minute. This man is not who he portrays himself to be, and why? And am I going to be pissed off when I get on down in this book and find out he's not who I thought he was? So
it ends up. I'll spoil the point that it ends up being pleasant enough, but he definitely isn't who you think he is.
No, he isn't. He is not. And when it hit me, I went, oh my goodness. Okay then.
Yeah.
And my next favorite were the twins because they were hysterical.
Yeah.
They had absolutely.
They started to pull a little bit. That's when I started writing them. That's when it became ensemble truly because by the it was probably about 20% in. When I had to start writing them, I had to make a commitment to making it an ensemble book because some of these women took on such diverse and interesting places as characters that it couldn't just be about Naomi. So
right.
Right.
And Naomi was interesting. She was the glue that held them all together.
She's Frodo.
And right. And she was
Frodo.
She was interesting in the fact that she thought she could get away from her past, but as in all things, our past sometimes slaps us in the face in our present, and the way she handled it showed that she had grown and that she was willing to surround herself with these other 5 women because they were all like a cog in a wheel. They were all strong individually, but when you put all 6 of them together, they were unstoppable.
Right. Well, and here's a scary thought. If you haven't thought of it yet, you'll die when I say there's once I was done with it, I also realized not only that there's sequels that are all over the place, possibly there's prequels.
Yes.
That are
because you give hints in it throughout the whole blooming book. I'm going, okay, so this happened. Where did I miss it? Oh, I didn't miss it. He's just throwing it in. So yeah, there's a lot of prequels to get to that point.
I had to consciously once I typed the end, I had to go back and make sure that I had closed enough loops that nobody was going to be ultimately too mad at me. But there's enough paths that I could write a lot more. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, okay, we've got this nice big fat book called The Six with these 6 wonderful women and the small army they surround themselves with, and how they get these people. You've got highwaymen, you've got villagers, you've got other little minions that may or may not be trusted, And they all come together because of these 6 women who have this, and each one of them have their own backstory that you allude to, but yet don't give us enough to make us bored. So you could go back and do a prequel on each one of the women, plus Sigan, plus Raz.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and then there's a sequel for a sequel and a prequel possible for the kobolds, and
yes.
And honestly, a lot of people got attached to a character that was going to be not a throwaway, but certainly not as prominent. Some people got attached to the old fella, the warrant officer, and
yes,
that was actually the first person to ask. They said, "Well, can you write a side story about the warrant officer?" And I said, "Wow, I hadn't even considered that." They're like, "I had somebody actually." Well, he's my editor. He works with me on Cheapjack, and he was the one that looks at all my stuff first. And we're about halfway through, maybe 3/4, and he said, "Don't you dare kill the warrant officer." And he's like, "If you were thinking about it," he's like, "I'm not going to ask you anything else." He's like, "Don't kill him." And I was like, "Oh man."
I was thinking the same thing as I'm reading the story, and the warrant officer shows up. I'm going, "Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. I like this guy." Because he was actually the glue that held the garrison together, including his general or whatever he was, his commanding officer.
Yeah. And, of course, the minute he said it, you know what stayed in my head bouncing around for months. I'm like, oh, I got to try not to kill this guy. I'm like, well, I so want to kill him now. And then, I would get to a scene and I would have a system where people had to draw straws so that I said, well, somebody's going to die, and I had a system that kept it random, and I had to keep him out of the system because of the request. I said, oh, I can't kill him. And then even at the end, I was like, oh, people are going to die left and right. People need to die, and it needs to be great and bloody and a big battle. And I said, oh. And sometimes when you're writing, you don't know where it's going to go. And I'm like, oh, he's riding into danger, and these horrible things happen. I'm like, he's going to die. He's going to die. And once I type it, I can't take it back.
Can you believe that we are running out of time?
Oh, goodness. It seems like we just started.
I know. So before we run out of time, tell the folks where you can be found and where they can find the 6.
Absolutely.
And
go on Amazon and David Ulnar Slew. You can get them on my page. That's probably the best way. Just go on Amazon and look up my page. You can definitely find me by looking at Cheapjack Pulp at cheapjackpulp.com. You can read there for free. And then God knows I appreciate when people go and buy the back issues so that I have some money to pay my authors. But I provide the current incarnation for free for the time being. So you can get about, 100, 200 pages worth of free fiction of multiple genres free at cheapjackpulp.com. And so either that or a lot of times I'm giving away stuff on Insta Freebie. You can get occasionally you can get the 6 on Insta Freebie, and you can get a horror short called Curiosity Killed the Clodhopper.
That's on my list. I downloaded that one too.
You are gonna you personally, you're gonna love that. A couple of redneck good old boys go messing around where they don't belong, and things take a horror turn. And I think you might have a deep appreciation for you. You might laugh because I've known some good old boys who are like those guys in the story, and you might have too.
Probably.
But
and they can
this
also
has been an absolute delight.
They can also find you under Ed Sullivan too, can't they?
Yeah, I don't have much up right now. I had stuff earlier that I pulled down because it's old stuff that was just when I was testing out Amazon to learn how to publish.
They can find you
I don't even know if anything is up there.
But they can find you on
absolutely.
Facebook.
Absolutely. Ed Sullivan on Facebook. More than happy to have people. I don't push too hard in terms of marketing. My Facebook is for friends and for conversations, and I talk to other authors, and that like that. But I'm a friendly guy. More than likely I'll take your friend request if you look me up on Facebook. Email is best to do. You could just do David@cheapjackpulp.com, and I'd be more than happy to answer questions, field questions, help anybody. I'm here to help. People helped me when I was starting. I'm always happy to help. So.
And he's going to come back, ladies and gentlemen, when he finishes the second book, and you can bet your sweet bippy this old white woman will be on him to get that book finished because I want to read it. Now, tomorrow night.
That's two.
Yeah.
You got me
tomorrow
for two.
Night
you got me that one, and you want me on with Dan, right?
Absolutely. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, Eastern Daylight Time, Eastern Standard Time, to me it's one and the same, actress Bree Warder and her director David Herringer will be here. Friday night, April the 21st at 8 o'clock, author Sherry Rensler will be here. She's going to read some of her poetry for us. That should be fun. And then Saturday night at 8 o'clock, author J.P. Cowwood will be here. Now, y'all all know that at the end of every show, I have to tell y'all about dreams. But before I do that, David, don't hang up after the show goes dark because I got some things I need to tell you. And by the way, thank you for spending an hour with me. It has been a blast.
I loved it.
It was a hoot and a half. But we are all dreamers. We are all dreamers, ladies and gentlemen. And without dreams, we would not have technology. We would not have the written word. We would not even have the alphabet as we know it. We would not be on the moon. We would not have vehicles. We would not have philosophy, great plays, great music, because all of that was created by dreamers. Every invention that we have was created by a dreamer. I am the world's biggest dreamer, and the reason I am is because of my brother who is retarded, who believes that failure is never an option. He is a dreamer. And if he dreams it, he believes it, and he achieves it. And he taught me that at a time in my life when I didn't ever think dreams came true because I was told they wouldn't. So if you have a dream, if your child has a dream, especially if your child has a dream, do not tell them they cannot make that dream happen. Give them every tool they need to make that dream happen. And if they decide to go in a different direction, they have not failed. They succeeded because they attempted that dream. Dreams change. Do not ask permission to achieve greatness. Just go out and do it. And no one can steal that dream from without permission. Don't give them permission. It is your dream. You are entitled to it. No one can take it away from you unless you allow them to. This radio show was a dream. My 17 books were dreams. My design work at Vita.com was a dream that was dropped in my lap that was not even on my radar. I turned it down the first time. Thankfully, they came to me again, and I took it. Because if I had turned it down a third time, could have been dire consequences. But live your dreams, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be that person who at the end of their day said, shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's too late then. Plan your dream, believe your dream, and achieve your dream. And remember this, we only go around once with this dream. If we come back around, it's a different dream, I guarantee you. But there'll always be a hole there. So join us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with my guest, Bree Warder, David Herringer. And until then, live, love, and laugh. We will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Okay, what will happen, we're off the air now, but everything we say now will go up in the archives. But what will happen is when we get off the phone, this thing will go up into archives. It'll take it a little bit. Well, when it goes up into archives, I'm going to put it on my page, and I'm going to tag you in it.
Okay.
You take that link and put it wherever you want to. Start pimping the daylights out of that link because it talks about the 6 and everything we talked about. Then tomorrow I will put it up on the 5 podcast, which is SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Spreaker, Podcast Garden, and Podomatic. If Podomatic's up and working, sometimes it's not working. But when I put it up on those podcasts, I will put the link up on my page and tag you in it. Promote the daylight out of it. On Spreaker, on SoundCloud, we are almost to 3,400 listeners just on that one.
Cool.
That's why we're heard in 51.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's why we're heard in 51 countries. On Podcast Garden, we're at over 2,000 listeners.
Beautiful.
So when you combine all of that with this show, that's how we're getting to 15,000. So take this and run with it, my friend. It is my gift to you.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Mind-boggling.
And get busy. I need that book.
I will.
All right. And with that, I will leave you, and thank you again so much for spending an hour with me. It was the hour flew by.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, my dear. And let me know when you get ready to launch it so that we can set up and get you back on the show.
Oh, absolutely. And let me know if you're going to be doing the one where you wanted me to go on with Dan. I'd be happy to do that, too.
Yes, I got to set that up. Maybe August. I've got some time in August. We'll do that in August. Remind me. Send me a note and remind me because I've got so much going on I'd probably forget my head if it wasn't screwed on straight.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, dear. Talk to you later.
Have a good one. I enjoyed the heck out of it.
I did, too, so much. Thank you.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, you know, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
George's Bank scallops are now at Bonefish Grill. The George's Bank off the coast of New England is known for its amazing sea scallops, and Bonefish prepares them just right. Grilled to perfection over a wood fire and served atop creamy Parmesan risotto. And start the night off with our new handcrafted happy hour every day from 4 to 6:30. Enjoy signature cocktails like our tropical tiki martini for just $5, and new bar bites like ahi tuna poke are just $6. So come in tonight and discover what's new at Bonefish Grill.